Hello, and welcome back to the Fandom Alchemists, where I try to pronounce all my S's properly through my invisible liners. Today we're mashing up two of the largest franchises in gaming history, The Legend of Zelda and Final Fantasy. I consider myself more of a recent fan of Final Fantasy with the release of the XIII Remake, but I've always been a huge Zelda fan since I bought Ocarina of Time back on the N64. Even though technically I watched my older cousin play because I was too scared to play sometimes. But still, Zelda is one of my favorite gaming franchises of all time, and after watching Nintendo's E3 Direct and seeing the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, and after I was done internally screaming, I started to think. I know a lot of people are eager to have Zelda herself finally be playable, which I'm still holding out hope for, but I also thought, who else would I love to play as in the world of Breath of the Wild? And diving in deeper, what if Breath of the Wild 2 was a true turn-based RPG game like Final Fantasy VII? Who would fight alongside Link? So let's do it. Let's build Breath of the Wild Link's RPG party. So the way we're gonna go about this is taking a look at all the party members from the original Final Fantasy VII game released in 1997, and seeing which of the characters from Breath of the Wild would best fit that party member's role in battle. We're going to take a look at the character stats and mechanics of each of the Final Fantasy VII party members. As for the Zelda characters, we're going to look at their abilities and story in both the original Breath of the Wild and parts of Age of Calamity, which I know is technically not canon, but definitely helps display at least an exaggerated version of some of the characters' abilities. We're also not going to go with any deceased characters, so the original champions will not be in the running either. Before we move on, be sure to like, comment, and hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all of our latest videos. Alrighty then, with that out of the way, let's get started in 3, 2, 1... Now to start off, obviously Link is going to take on the role that Cloud plays. Cloud is what some consider to be the hero or red mage role in RPG terms. A well-rounded fighter in all aspects, allowing them to adapt to any scenario and any team makeup. Especially since Cloud will always have to be included in your team lineup. Link will take on this role, having shown his well-roundedness as well in Breath of the Wild. Master Sword and Hylian Shield in hand, Link will excel in all aspects: attack, defense, and magic. Especially with that new magic arm he has in that trailer, I can't wait to learn more about what the heck is going on with that. Next party member up is the leader of Avalanche, Barret Wallace. Barret's fighting style can be described as being a warrior and tank. What he lacks in magic and speed, he makes up for in his high HP, defense, and attack power. Out of all the species in Breath of the Wild, the one that fits best with these characteristics are the Gorons, who are literally sentient rocks. So I decided to go with Yunobo to take this place as the group's tank. Now, hold on. I know Barret's a lot more liked than Yunobo, but hear me out. Yunobo just makes sense to fill this role due to his slow nature, but majorly high defense, having inherited Daruk's protection ability. And as a Goron, he's naturally very strong and physically has very tough skin. If that doesn't say tank, I don't know what does. Next up is everyone's favorite bartending waifu, Tifa Lockhart. Tifa's fighting style relies on physical blows and techniques, which are common traits typically found in the monk or martial arts role in traditional RPG parties. Because of this, I exchanged one waifu for another and chose Paya to be the next party member. Yeah, Paya is shy and hasn't necessarily shown any fighting ability. However, being a member of the Sheikah tribe, who are heavily influenced by ninjas, and being a descendant of Impa herself, I doubt that Paya has absolutely zero fighting ability, if not at least potential. So I think it would actually be a really cool character arc to have her go from being a shy and scared person to a martial arts master throughout the game. Up next is Aerith Gainsborough. In terms of battle, Aerith is kinda the exact opposite of Barret in their stats, as they're almost completely flipped. Even though she's physically weak and frail, with low strength and HP stats, Aerith excels the greatest in her magical abilities, which has her fit closely to being the sage role. Who else in Breath of the Wild makes more sense than the reincarnation of Goddess Hylia herself to take on this role? I mean, Zelda has even been the leader of the sages in previous games, so it just makes perfect sense. Our titular heroine, Zelda, is probably the most powerful being in terms of magic in the entire Zelda franchise. And having gone through the struggles of being unable to use her magical abilities 100 years ago, Zelda using those abilities in full force will just feel all the more satisfying in a sequel. Please, please, please make Zelda playable. Now onto Red 13. Red 13 is a super unique character in multiple ways. His stats kind of support him being a quote-unquote fast tank, excelling in both HP and dexterity. Also a little fun fact is that he's actually the only quadruped party member ever in all of Final Fantasy. Finding a good fit for Red 13 was kinda tough because there was no real character to me that fit his fighting style exactly. So I decided to focus on his defining characteristic, his dexterity. Red 13 has the highest dexterity in the game, so I wanted that to be reflected in the character who would be representing him. I decided to go with the combo of Riju and Patricia. Since due to Patricia's rampage, they're actually the fastest characters in Age of Calamity, at least in terms of travel speed. And in place of his high HP, I switched that out with high spirit, as Riju uses the Gerudo Thunder Helm essentially as a magical barrier. I think the fact that Riju and Red 13's weapons being pieces of headwear is actually also a perfect coincidence. It's time for everyone's absolute favorite party member, Cait Sith.
Oh brother, this guy's
okay, just kidding. I know Cait Sith isn't the most popular character, but let's give the guy a little chance. Just strictly looking at their stats, Cait Sith generally excels in magic and luck, at the cost of both strength and vitality. Generally, this can be considered close to a mage or cleric classification. Even though it's a bit of a stretch, I decided to go with Hestu, since his maracas can generally act as a support to make Link and others stronger. Just like how the Korok Seed side quests in Breath of the Wild adds onto Link's inventory. And giving a character like Hestu high luck stat just makes sense. Now onto the short-tempered, swearing mechanic, Cid Highwind. Cid's stats are generally pretty close to Barret's in that they're super bulky, but lacking in the magical department. Additionally, Cid's use of a spear and jumping attacks places him firmly in the Dragoon playstyle. Of the champion's successors, Sidon also attacks using a trident, which is kinda like a spear weapon, and is also a perfect fit for Cid's role in battle. Again, this is based solely on the battle mechanics and not story or personality, cause can you imagine Mr. Winning Smile Sidon talking like Cid? I mean, actually, that would actually be pretty funny, but anyways. Sidon towers over Link, which makes his tankier HP make all the more sense. But with the Zoro weakness to lightning attacks in Breath of the Wild, a low spirit stat also makes for a great fit. Up next is the materia hunter slash ninja, Yuffie Kisaragi. Yuffie is your quintessential thief class character with very high dexterity and luck, but having average to low defensive stats. Yuffie uses her large shuriken and other throwing items in battle for a more long-ranged approach. With this in addition to her speed, Teba, the Rito warrior, would definitely fit right into this role. Being a Rito, Teba would probably be one of the most agile members of the team, being able to fly all over the place, and his bow and arrows definitely match Yuffie's more ranged fighting style. In my opinion, Teba is the most underutilized of the new champions, but he has one of the coolest character designs and an interesting family dynamics, so having him in the party would definitely give him more of an opportunity to shine. And last but not least, we have Mr. Spin-off Game himself, Vincent Valentine. In my opinion, Vincent has really unique stats, especially for his character design, being probably the most fragile character in the game, but being much more magic focused. Kinda serving as a pseudo replacement for Aerith once, you know. In Breath of the Wild, there's also a character with unique character design that no one expected, and that's Master Kohga. Kohga would be a great fit since he definitely possesses a lot of magical abilities, but he has a major temper that can send him into a rampage, which can act very similarly to Vincent's Galleon beast form. I don't think it's ever been truly confirmed that Kohga's dead after his battle with Link, and as Age of Calamity kind of implies, Kohga potentially could move over to help the good guys. So I think it's definitely possible for him to join up with Link, Zelda, and all the other heroes in the party. Alright, so that's Link's RPG party to go and save Hyrule. What did you guys think? Who else would you add to join Link on his adventure? For me, I'm still super confused about what's actually going on in the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, but I'm definitely super excited to learn a lot more about potential playable characters and other details in the coming year. Please leave a comment, hit that like button, and subscribe if you haven't already. Till next time guys, later!